Welcome to Teachers Who Rock. I am Kimberly Grigoli. I am your host of this podcast today. I'm a kindergarten teacher, a part-time wannabe rock star, I guess you would say. I'm in the band Mama Drama, and I am so lucky to have a fellow teacher, actually one of my bestie from school here with me today, Cindy Harrison. So welcome so much to our podcast, Cindy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first podcast ever, so I was listening to many today to get myself prepped and ready.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and
Okay. Well, I have 20 years of teaching experience in elementary school, mostly. I've been a reading specialist. I've been an in-class support teacher. And my husband's in education as well, currently. He used to be in finance when I first met him. I took a year off from teaching and worked at a bank as a personal banker.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, yeah. So that's where I met Tim. He was the investments guy. And, they were bringing me around and introducing me to all the different departments. And I was like, oh, I'm going to meet this investments guy. I'm like, great. Because, the mortgage guy was oh, we're going to, partner up. And, well, we can make, I'm thinking, oh, my gosh. And I walked in and it was Tim. I was like, oh, he's kind of cute.
And then the rest is history.
And then he's like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I was like, well, I'll help you fill out applications as long as you don't surf all the time.
Oh,
so,
my
yeah,
goodness.
so then he got into it. But his whole family was a bunch of educators. Mine, not so much. And so now, yeah.
So that's going back into why, why you got into
Why?
education, or what were your other
Right.
choices? Did you always know you want to be a teacher?
I don't know. My dad was kind of traditional, and his whole thing was be a nurse or be a teacher, or be a cop or be a fireman. That was his thing with us growing up. And he was an accountant, so he knew about the pension system and was like, this is great for your retirement. So I kind of was like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. And so my mom's cousin, she was a first grade teacher for 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And I remember they said when I was little, 4 and 5 years old, I used to go sit in her classroom and
Oh, how
participate
cute.
in the lessons. And then I remember being little, lining up all my stuffed animals and playing school with them. So I think it was just always in me.
Yes. That's so neat. And then you decided and you went to school right there for that, or you switched majors, or you went right for education?
I went for it. No, well, so I went and I was undeclared at first. I was down at East Carolina University, and then I came back and just finished out my associate's degree over at Brookdale, and then went back to ECU. And I remember saying oh, okay, they said, what's your major? I said, oh, well, I wanted to talk to my advisor to decide. And they said, no, you have to pick your major, and then you get an advisor. So on the spot, I was like, okay, elementary education.
Oh, wow.
So
That's amazing.
and the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, so neat. And then when you started teaching, what grade did you go right into, or did you go into a specialist position?
No, I was elementary first. So I did my student teaching in first grade, and then I liked the lower elementary, so I was mainly focused on teaching first and second grade. I did a year teaching third grade, and then I went back to get my master's, so I did all my classes for my certification as a reading specialist. So then I did that for 2 years. Then I went back to the classroom. Then I went back to being a reading coach, and then I went back to the classroom.
There's a lot of back and forth there.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And I know as far as when we look at reading and how much it has changed over the course of the years, and
Yes.
especially being a reading specialist, do you
Yes.
feel that as you were in it, that this wasn't, maybe sometimes you had to teach things that maybe weren't the right way or the best way? And what was that like?
Yes. I feel like there's two camps, and there's that, okay, you got to teach the kids all their sounds in their phonics camp, and then there's the you have to teach them how to love books camp, and then somewhere in the middle is this beautiful thing called balanced literacy, where you do a little bit of everything.
Right.
So everybody gets what they need, and then they learn how to read, and they learn how to love reading. So it was a struggle when I was in districts. Luckily, the majority of the time when I was in districts, or where the reading program was less than what I hoped it to be, I was in a position where I was able to influence the administrators and make that change.
That's great.
So-
And I think that that's one of the neat things, that you being a reading coach and a reading specialist and being able to work with other teachers is a very rewarding thing, but also sometimes can be a really challenging thing
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
I know when I was at Lake House and I was able to work with teachers, musicians, and it was the neatest thing, but at the same time, it's not the same as having your own classroom.
Correct, which is why I eventually went back to have my own home.
Right. So that's why you went back.
Yeah.
You would say.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
great. So tell us a little bit about you're not only a teacher, you are also a mom.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your children.
Okay.
And
All right. I have, well, they're 17 now, but I have boy-girl twins. So Isabel and Ethan, and they are juniors in high school. They got their driver's license the end of November. So I was home with them for a couple of years and just did the mom thing, which was fun.
that's great.
And then, yeah, I realized, though, they need you just as much, if not more, when they're older than when they're younger.
Yes, and I don't think we always realize that. We think that you get to a certain age and all of a sudden they're going to be fine.
Yes.
And you're going to have more time. And I'm learning that right now. I think that I'm almost busier with them.
Yeah, because they're not too far off from mine, too.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
age-wise.
And, it's more now, I think I'm more of a mommy Uber for sometimes, but, that's what we kind of do. So,
Uber, ATM.
yes. So now, I noticed too, as a teacher, when I started and I wasn't a parent, I think my teaching and my expectations were very different
100%.
than after becoming a parent. So did you find that as
100%.
well?
I did. And I really, like, when parents would say that to me when I was a younger teacher, I would be like, really offended by it. Like, I'm not treating your child any differently, because I'd get the, well, you're not a mom, so you don't understand.
Yes.
And then,
yes.
yes, I do understand now, because I am a mom. And yeah, I think you just get this different perspective. And like, I never changed my like expectations or what I expected from the kids, but you just get this like softer side, and you're just like, okay, like, yeah, this is important, but them being little people is just as important, if not more important.
Yes. No, it is so true. So when you think of those days, and we all have those days as teachers where it's challenging, you get up in the morning and you think your day is going to start one way, and then you get to school and things are not going the way you expected them to go. But meanwhile, you have all these other things you have to get done and you have to do. And then what do you go to? Like, what is your why? What is your, at that moment, at that point in time, how do you kind of get yourself off that, like, not that we're in a panic mode, but that little bit of like, oh my gosh.
Right. So going back to like, why am I even doing this? Why?
Yes. Like,
Yeah,
that's what it is. Or like, how am I just going to talk myself down? Like, how,
it's a lot of deep breaths. It's a lot of talking in your head, saying things you can't say out loud.
yes.
And then you just kind of like have to like regroup and find that moment and be like, okay, I got this.
Yes.
And then when all else fails, you start doing the school countdown.
Oh, what is the school countdown?
Oh, it's like, okay, so many days till the next weekend, and so many days till the next break, and so many days
Yes.
till summer vacation. So
Those little markers throughout the course of the year
like,
that kind
if
of
I
get
can
you
just
to the
get to
next
here,
point.
you just get to your little milestones in.
Yes, yes. Oh,
And
that's
you get
great.
through it.
So, I like to always think, like, what is your superpower? Like, if you have this power, it could be a superpower that you want to have, or something that you have already that is your, like, what's your superpower?
Like overall, or in an education.
So I like to think like my superpower a little bit is I can almost like very intuitive
Yes.
with like children. I can
Yes.
kind of see how they're
Yeah.
feeling and things. Like, would you say that that's something that you have? I think it's a lot of teachers.
Yes,
are able
yeah,
to have that
definitely.
superpower.
You have to know your kids more than anything, and I think I've always been really good at that. Like, and I noticed that in parent conferences when I would talk to parents, and they'd be like, "Wow, you really know my kid, or you really nailed them on this and that," And even now, I have some students that I tutor, and I will just sit with them and like watch them and like just tweak a little thing here and there, and then the parents are like, "Oh my gosh, they're making hundreds, and they've never brought home a grade this good. Like, what did you do?" I'm like, "I just made them comfortable. I gave them that confidence that they needed." It's just, so I guess being able to boost their confidence and like make them believe in themselves, I say that would be mine.
That's a huge superpower.
Not to brag or anything.
So now, aside from teaching, you also have this other side where you can, you're tutoring.
Yes.
And tell me about that. Like, it's great that you're able to kind of target and maybe see children in a different way, students in a different way.
It's nice. And it kind of reminds me why I stopped being a reading coach in some ways too, because I'm like, I'm not sure I would do it this way, but so it's like kind of the workaround. And again, telling the kids like, okay, like when you get in class and like this is what's being taught, remember, you can always, so giving them that alternative, I guess, is what I like about that. And it's just that one-on-one time. It reminds me of a lot of what I enjoyed doing in small group instruction, but without the chaos that's going on with the kids that aren't in the small group.
And then you're able to really tailor whatever you want to use, whatever type of program you want to use with this student, or whatever type of teaching tool you want to use with them.
Exactly. Or I'll take the curriculum that they're currently using and then just show them ways that they can, apply different strategies for thinking about things to like make what they're doing work for them.
That's wonderful. And they're so lucky to have you as
Aw,
a tutor.
thank
I think
you.
that's amazing. We'll definitely share out all your information after our podcast here. So this is a funny question because I'm looking at it and I'm kind of chuckling to myself. So what do you like to do in your spare time?
Oh, well, I have so much spare time, so it's really hard now.
No, but if you had spare time
Yes,
or in
spare
those
time.
little moments.
Those moments of
of
spare time, yes, I like to just like sit and have it quiet and read. And then of course in the summer, like on the beach with a book. That's not anything that's educationally focused, just for fun.
That's so important, I
Yeah.
think. And I think the reading, we were just, I was just talking to Ming about this actually, when we were saying how being a teacher, I think you have to love learning and you have to have that love of learning.
Yes.
And I think so many of us are those natural readers. Like, just, we don't have a lot of time during the year to really get into a good book.
So
but
true. And I feel like, too, I guess maybe and you can tell me because you have kids, too. I feel like if I have those few minutes during the school year and I'm in my house, I'm like, okay, I should be like doing the laundry or like unloading the dishwasher. And to me, like, I feel guilty if I take that time to read.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so I feel like I give myself permission more in the summer when I have the days kind of open. But
And I think that's so important that we really discuss that, because I do feel like there's so many times that we are so on ourselves as moms and as teachers and all the different things that we have to do that we don't give that time to ourselves. It's
Right.
like, oh, there's still laundry. Well, laundry will always be there. Or,
Always.
the dishwasher and the dishes. And obviously, like, we do have to feed our families and do the
Yes.
things that we have to do. But at the same time, it's so important to take those couple of moments,
Yes.
because I think we're so much better off when we do.
definitely.
But sometimes, like,
It's
we have
hard,
to give
though.
ourselves
Yeah.
permission. And that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
To really find that time. And actually, I wanted to kind of get into the next part of what I wanted to talk to you about is that the lack of flexibility in a teacher's schedule is such a challenge.
It really is.
Finding that time from when I walk into that building, I pretty much have my schedule set down. Now, in the classroom, you have flexibility maybe with times a little bit, but
Right.
for the most part, like, you have to be here. They're at lunch. This is your lunch when you're here. This
Yes.
is when, my bathroom break is from here to here, unless I could flex somebody down or call for somebody.
Exactly.
But otherwise, we really are limited.
Oh, well, and you stop and think about it in a way. Like, here's these little kids, because like you teach the younger kids. I taught the younger kids, and even though they're like little, they have more freedom in the school day than we have, because if they need a Band-Aid, they can go to the nurse. If they need to use the bathroom at any moment in time, they can leave the room. Like, and we're just like, okay, the bell needs to ring, and I
Yes.
have like 5 minutes. So it is. We definitely like are like tied to that clock and that schedule.
Yes. And even as far as, in the morning, if you wake up and you don't feel well, like, you have a very short window and, time in order to, if you can't go in that day. Because they need to get coverage or they need to get a substitute. So, you actually have a story about that and how, oh my goodness, you had to make it to school.
I have many stories, but yeah, this is a good one. It was during when we came back from the pandemic. So we're back in school teaching, but is when everybody was doing something different. So
Yes.
some schools were virtual, some schools were in person, some were hybrid, some were async.
We were full-time.
Yeah, the school we were at
Full
together
masks.
was full-time in person all day, full day, masked the entire time, with the option to be completely virtual if
Right.
the parent chose to not, enroll their child back into like the full day program. So I was one of the virtual teachers at that time. So that meant I was coming in prior to the start of the regular school day to teach. And then I would teach throughout the school day
Right,
when
right.
my kids were doing something else. And the night before, my husband picked my daughter up from cheer practice, and he thought he should take our golden retriever rescue dog for a ride, which she loves the car, so
Right.
no big deal. And she came in, my daughter, and she's crying. She's upset over something, and my husband comes in, and I'm staying up late with her, fixing things, figuring things out, put her to bed, go to bed. And our dog, Sawyer, he would sometimes sleep with my son, Ethan, when he would go up with him at night. But then he'd always come back downstairs because our bedroom's downstairs and like sleep with us. And I remember going to bed and saying to my husband, I'm like, oh, I guess Sawyer's going to sleep with Ethan tonight. That's kind of weird.
But really didn't think anything
Yeah,
of it.
I didn't think anything
Yeah.
of it. Didn't, no light bulb going on for me. And then the next morning, I'm like, okay, rushing around, getting ready. It's an early, hectic morning for me. I don't remember if my kids were in person or virtual that day because they were every other day. And I touched the front door. And as I turn to touch the front door as I'm thinking, oh, I got to remind them to let Sawyer in because he's probably out in the yard. It's like when your life flashes before you and that wave hits you in the face. And I'm like, the dog's in the car from the
You
night
just
before.
knew it. At that point, you knew.
Yeah, and I go and I open the door and he's just as happy as can be. And he's standing there and he jumps out. He runs to the front door. Now, I'm trying not to be late for this morning class, right? And
Right, because you have to get to school.
I have to get to school. Not only do I have to get to school, but it's like I have to get to school and I'm teaching these kids that are at home. So I'm kind of like teaching their parents too because, the parents are there like
Yes.
logging them on because they're like 6 and 7 years old. So I open the door and I say to the kids, I'm like, oh my God, he was in the car all night. Love on him. Make sure he's okay. I got to go. I go to get in my car and the entire interior of the car was eaten. The entire. And I know Kim knows because she has seen the pictures
And
of it.
it wasn't just eaten, it was
We'll show you the pictures, Ming.
completely demolished.
Yeah.
The steering wheel, the
Seatbelt. I had no seatbelts. And the
everything was
headrest.
completely destroyed.
Destroyed. I guess he was trying to. And first thing people would say to me when I'm like, he was left in the car overnight, they're like, oh my gosh, did he use the bathroom in the car? I'm like, I wish he used the bathroom in the car. I had a rental car for, almost 2 months, I think.
It was a
Because
2-month-old car.
It's a Volkswagen.
That's the best part
yeah.
of it.
It was a brand new car, too. And it was a Volkswagen Tiguan. It's not like super high fancy, but all the parts are made in Germany still. So everything's got to be shipped overseas. And again, this is like a COVID time. So
Right.
yeah.
So, but you didn't get to stay home that day. You had to
No,
actually
I
go to
did
work.
not. I had to cry in my car while the seatbelt warning dinged the entire way because I had no seatbelt to put on. And I remember calling my husband hysterical, and he's like, "What do you mean he ate the car?" I'm like, "I mean he ate. There's nothing left inside the car.
I can't.
If he could chew it or rip it, he did."
He ate the car. But
Yeah.
long story short, you made it to work that day.
I
We
made it
are
to work.
laughing about it now. We were not laughing
No,
about it
we
that
were not.
day.
No.
And maybe it was a sore subject for a couple months. But now it's just, and it really isn't. It kind of really does show that, no matter what's going on,
We're on.
That's
We're
one of the things that you have to be on.
You're
and I think
on.
that is
Yeah.
definitely a challenge
It
in
is,
teaching and
yeah.
in education.
And you think about it, like a surgeon, unless they're doing some emergency surgery, they wake up one morning and they don't feel well, they cancel their surgeries for the day.
Right.
I mean,
right.
someone so well educated and trained and way high up there can just be like, I'm not coming in today.
Right.
And I'm not that we're not well educated and trained, but we got to be
It's
there.
not so easy. We are there. We
We're
have
there.
to be there. So that definitely is a challenge.
Yes.
What other challenges would you say, and not even that you are necessarily facing, but in education that teachers are facing right now?
Oh, well, I think it's always time. There's never enough time to really. I mean, any good teacher, I feel like, reflects and is always like, oh, I wish I could have done this or done
Yes.
that differently.
That's so true.
And it's just that gift of time because I feel like everything's crunched and if we just had a day to okay, organize our rooms and catch up on some grading, almost like how we were talking about taking that time at home for yourself to make you a
Yes.
better parent or partner or whatever. I feel like we need that during the school day or during the school year, just that time. That's, I think, the biggest challenge. I mean, we can go into curriculums and resources, but I think across the board, I think everyone would agree that time.
I agree. And I feel like that's the greatest gift that we can be given.
Yes.
Every once in a while, if a faculty meeting or a collaboration meeting is canceled,
Yes.
that gift of time is something that I think that everybody, obviously with teaching, you have a set salary. It's not like you're going to make more money or whatever it is,
Right.
but giving back that time, I think, is so important.
It
And I
is.
think it's true that that's the biggest gift for all of us.
100%.
So absolutely, absolutely.
God made snow days because he loves teachers.
That's right. Although we had none this year. We didn't have any. So what do you like to do over the summer? Because a lot of the times I hear oh, teachers, you're so lucky you have your summers off. But, I feel like that isn't not necessarily, there's so many teachers
that's
that do.
That's like a myth, an urban legend or
Yes. So what
something.
do you do? As a teacher, what do you do to prepare, or what else do you do just for yourself?
So, I'll take a good chunk of the summer, quote unquote, off where I won't think about school. I try to unplug and de-stress and do my beach and my bike rides and, work out more than what, because I don't have any excuses now, and read my books. And then, that lasts probably about the middle of July. So maybe 4 weeks or so. And then you start thinking about it, how am I going to set up my room? What's my opening day activities going to be? What are there different books I want to read to the kids this year? What worked? What would I change from last year? And then there's always that time that is usually in August, and it's after all the classrooms have been cleaned, but it's before your contract starts, where you go out there and you spend the equivalent of a school day times 3 or 4 days at
Right.
minimum, I feel like, to make it look like how it's supposed to look for when the kids get there. Like, and I don't
Yes.
think nobody sees all that behind the scenes kind of thing that goes on. And yeah, it's like, oh, you're lucky. You get, I'm like, well, let's break this down. You get every federal holiday and you get a 2-week vacation, and
Right.
then, then you get to add another week, or you get to buy back a week. And,
Right. And you can choose your weeks. I think
exactly.
that's
You
always
can
something
choose
that's
your
like a big
weeks.
thing.
Yeah.
That's,
hmm
you know.
So so having summers off isn't really off.
And it's also, I think, a time for that recharge, because I do feel that.
Absolutely.
I feel like there is that time where all of a sudden you just need that, that little bit of a break to kind
Yeah.
of refresh, renew,
Right.
and
And
then
then,
you jump
the
back into
kids
it again.
need it. So, like, they need off.
Right.
You know.
Although as parents too, there really isn't an off. I mean,
Right, no.
it's kind of like a switching gears a little bit too.
Exactly.
And I
True.
love that in our district. It's funny, they have a sign, and at the end of the year, it says, like, to the parents, like
Yes,
on our billboard, it says,
yeah,
like, tag you're
you're
it.
Yeah.
And then we have something from the PTA when we pull in the
Yeah,
first day of school, and it's like, teachers, tag you're it.
Yeah,
Like, it's, back and
Little
forth. So
back
I
and
think
forth.
that's
So
always,
true.
always
It
such
is.
a fun thing. So if somebody was thinking of coming back to the profession, or was thinking of going into teaching, what would you say to them? There's so many different things.
Right.
But what would you,
I mean, coming back, I think it'd be like,
because you've done it
I've done it. Yeah.
a couple times.
Yes. My bank job, and then after the twins,
Yes.
and it's definitely different. Like, I mean, things do change, and some things that change make sense, and like it's really good, and you're like, okay, this is so much better. And then some things change, and it's just like, well, we're gonna do it this way now, and it's not always the best. And I feel like almost sad for the kids, because I can, you remember when we used to be able to like do this and that in the
Yes.
classroom, but now we can't because of XYZ. And
Yes.
those kids turned out okay,
Right.
like they
Yes.
learned, they could read, they could write. And so it's just like that, again, that balance. The balance is not always there. So I would definitely tell anyone going back into the profession, like, don't expect it to be like how you left it.
That's so important. I think that is such valuable advice, because I think so many times, that we think things are going to be one way, or we expect it to be the way that it used to be, and education is always changing.
Always
and evolving.
changing.
So
It is.
That is
And
really, I
yeah.
think, valuable advice.
Yeah.
And then for somebody who's new, who's coming in, it's being flexible.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Understanding
Like,
that.
I mean, I think you really have to be able to be flexible and like just like roll with things, because you work with a lot of different personalities.
Yes.
And I'm a very highly sensitive person, so even like to this day, I have to remind myself, okay, I gotta let this go. I can't let this ruin my day. I can't let this upset me, because you
Yes.
can run into a colleague, or an administrator, or even get like something from a parent, and maybe it wasn't their best day. Maybe they misunderstood something, but you just be like, okay, I'm doing the best I can, and give yourself some like grace, I guess. Like, you're learning it,
I think so. And I think believing in yourself so many times, because I think
100%.
we doubt ourselves so many times, and we right
Yes.
away are like, oh no, like, I didn't do this the right way, or I should have done this, or I should have done, and you start to like second guess, and you start to doubt. And I think that we really have to, have that confidence
Definitely.
in ourselves,
Yeah.
and embrace that change, because there is
Yeah.
always change. And that has been my biggest thing,
Yeah.
is like trying to tell myself, like, I know that I don't like change, but I'm starting to really like just roll with it. Like,
It is
it's
what it is,
change,
yeah.
and there's nothing I'm going to do about it, and we'll figure it out. And I
That's
think
right.
That's
Yeah,
what
you
it's
gotta just figure it
it's
out,
all
make
about.
It work. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to go in, because talking about lifelong learning, you are back in school now,
I'm back in school
which
now.
is
Yes.
amazing.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit
Yes,
about where you
okay.
are, what you're
All
doing,
right,
what you're
so-
next.
It was time for me to, I know you're like, really? Because like you've done so many different things. But I was
Yes.
like, I needed a little more. I didn't want administration in a school building. So for some other reasons too, like with my, things going on like behind the scenes with my family. Nothing bad though. I was like, okay, I'm going to like step back for a little bit. So I am in a master's program for public health at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
That's amazing.
And I feel like COVID and Zooms really prepared me for that.
Yes.
Which, is not a bad thing.
Right.
And there is like live sessions with like students. So it's great, because I'm in like classes, again, where people who want to be there, who want to learn. Some of them are already doctors, or, in the healthcare profession. Some are coming from other in professions. Other people are like they went straight from undergrad to this. So there's like just a
That is
wide
really
range,
nice.
variety of ages and experiences, and it's really neat, So we're all in different group chats because you're put into groups together for things. But I will say this: the one thing that I was so apprehensive about was like, and I'm in a leadership concentration, was okay. Like I know nothing about public health. Like I know elementary school.
I just love that
Yeah.
you just decided like, okay, I'm going to do this now. Like,
I was like,
it's such a great thing.
I just know little kids. But as I got more comfortable in learning the material with the underlying themes of everything, with it being like leadership, I did it in the classroom.
Yes.
Like being an elementary school teacher has prepared me so much for what I'm learning without me realizing it.
That is fantastic.
So like, so teachers can really do anything. That's the bottom line.
That is great. That is great. And you never really know what kind of track that you're going on.
No.
Which is, I think, amazing that this door opened for you and now that you're getting to do this. Although I miss dearly working with my bestie. And I
know.
think that that's such an
We were
important
work
thing, too.
besties
Where
so much.
it's so important to find your tribe
Yes.
within a
yeah.
school, especially depending upon we had a smaller school building, but a lot of schools, the buildings are really big. And I think trying to find your people, those people that you can depend on, you can, I don't want to say like vent to, but you can sound like a sounding board.
Yeah. No,
to
you need your people.
You need
like,
your people that you can trust.
Exactly.
That can support you and are aligned with how you feel. And I think that is super important as well.
Yes.
So I think that's great. So if you could travel, let's switch gears here a little bit. And I think because part of the thing that's really nice about with teaching is that you do have a summer break where you can go different places.
Right.
I find that it's harder for me to travel right now just because of with my family and I just have so many other little commitments and things going on. But where would you go?
Ooh.
If you could go anywhere.
Anywhere. I know that anywhere is what gets me because I'm always like, oh, I'd go back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I went there for
Would
our
you go
honeymoon.
like sit on a beach and
I think
relax
I'm like,
somewhere?
You know what?
Would
I
you
think
go-
I'd want to go to Europe.
Yeah.
And just see like the parts of Europe that aren't the touristy parts.
Oh, that's nice.
And like travel like along the coast there.
Mm-hmm.
Make my way down to Greece eventually. I think it's down. No, it's not part of Europe. So
No, I think it's there.
Is
It's
it?
there.
Yeah.
It's like
No.
down to the
Yeah.
somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the
Yeah.
right.
I was talking to someone the other day and they said they were doing, they have their daughters are a little bit older than our kids. So they're like graduating from like high school and college like simultaneously. And they were doing like a Mediterranean cruise.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was like, that sounds really good.
So nice. That's
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
yes, definitely on my list too, I think. So in the classroom, it's kind of nice. We have your room has speakers as well too, I think, right? Could you play music through and pipe
Yes,
different things?
we
through?
had some tech issues every once in a while, but
So
it had the ability.
One of my favorite things is going in the morning and like, what kind of music are we going to be listening to today? And we theme our classroom in kindergarten. So, when we're in the Wild West, we have like that kind of Wild West kind of music. Or when we're in the rainforest, I can put like the
Tropical, the
yes,
sound.
which is nice. And when we traveled to Japan with the ninjas, we had all that. So it was really neat to kind of it does
neat.
give the classroom like a vibe.
Yes.
Feel.
Mm-hmm.
When they're writing, we'll put on like they call it quiet music.
Yeah.
It's the classical music that goes on there. But do you have a certain thing that you like to listen to when you're that you would put on with the kids or when they leave?
Kind of the same. Like, it was definitely like more instrumental stuff. Or like a jazz when like they needed more calming. And then they liked it a little bit more upbeat. Like something they did not like was Kids Bop. If I tried to put Kids Bop on, because I was concerned, like, I don't know, like if this is an
I know with the
appropriate
lyrics
song
and
or
things,
not.
yes, it's true.
They're like, can you just play the real one and not Kids Bop? But we did a lot of like Jack Johnson's type of stuff. Like,
Yes.
just kind of like
That's
chill, but upbeat music.
And I think it really does give a different feel
Yeah.
for them when they have
Definitely.
music. And music is such a big part of our classroom as well. So, well, thank you. And it was so nice
you.
to
It
have you on. I don't know
I'm
if
so
there's
excited. Thank
anything
you.
else that you want to add.
No, I don't know. Like, I mean, can you think of anything before I go? I have my list of the 20 things that what makes a good teacher that I wrote a year ago.
Oh, please share that.
Yeah, okay. All right.
This is like
I
feel like we should have like the drum roll
right.
of like 20 things that
Not
make a
like-
good teacher.
It's nothing that's like earth-shattering or, I don't even know if it's inspirational, but I think like how you're
No, I
saying
love
it was
this.
like one
This
of
is
those
great.
days when you're having those days, because I wrote this at 12:27 a.m. So it was probably like
Just kind of guess what kind of day that was.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was in October, so it was
Okay.
early in the school year.
Yes.
Okay, and it was like last year. And it was like, what makes a good teacher? Knowing your students as individuals,
Oh, that's important. That is.
making connections and developing relationships with families,
That's another good one.
building trust,
Yep.
creating self-confidence,
Yes.
being flexible, laughing.
Oh my gosh! You know what? That is so important.
Mhm.
I actually I'm going to be presenting a workshop on playful learning in the classroom and
Oh.
how important it is to incorporate play.
Yeah.
At any age
Totally.
with students, and play changes the older you get. But
Yeah.
we're playing right now. Doing
Exactly.
this together is a type of play. We're going out, and,
Totally.
you know,
Yeah.
having dinner together and different things. Laughing. Yes, and
yeah.
I think that that's something that a lot of teachers sometimes forget or are afraid to show that.
Yeah, like, I have to be like in charge, so like I can't be silly, maybe.
Right, because I'll lose
Some
control, or
things.
they
Yeah,
think,
uh-huh.
you know. And
Right.
there was that mentality for a while that you don't smile until October,
Right,
or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
your
don't-
kids are
don't-
like, I can't
I'm
not
like,
smile. That would be so
like,
weird.
that-
They would be
you gotta
looking at me
you gotta,
like,
you gotta be you.
Yeah.
So I have loving.
oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Laughter.
Teaching the child, not the curriculum. Using teacher discretion. Recognizing and pushing personal and academic limits. Being respectful, being honest, being transparent, building a community.
Oh, I love that. Community is so important too.
Because then they support each other. I mean, and
Yes.
that's what school's really about. It's preparing you to be like a good person in life.
Yes.
More, it's not just about like the grades.
No, absolutely. And I think there's a big push right now in education to try to incorporate community and
Yeah.
create that. And I feel like that's something you and I really did together.
Yes,
And I just
definitely.
to share, we were co-chairs for the PTA Spring Fundraiser for in 2020.
Yes. And then last year.
Yes, in 2021. And we raised over $10,000
Yeah.
last year
Yeah.
at this spring fundraiser. And when this position first came up and you came to me, Cindy came to me, and she's like, hey, we
Hey,
should do this.
bestie.
We're gonna co-chair this event. And I said, like,
No, we're not.
I'm like, really? I just feel like I'm drowning and I have all these things. And, and you're like, no, we can do this. Because we were both involved in PTA fundraising
Yes.
for our own children. And she's like, this is something really great. And we'll get to know the community. And that's going to be really important for us.
Yep.
And you were right. You were absolutely right. It was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
And it was also COVID.
Yes.
And we had to have an outside event.
Yes.
We had 180
People, I think. Yeah.
under a tent
Uh-huh.
in
It was amazing.
I don't know,
Early May.
Yeah.
It was early May.
Maybe it wasn't 20. It was 2021, 2022.
21
Yes.
to 22. Then I guess.
2021,
Yeah,
2022.
Yeah, because
Couldn't
we
be
did them
20.
back to back.
Everything
Yeah.
was shut down then.
Uh-huh.
But anyhow, yeah, and it was the best. And we had the best time. And I
did.
have to say that getting to know the community in that way as a teacher was so important.
Yes.
And I think fostering that relationship. So that's something I
Absolutely.
hope that more teachers will eventually, get involved with. But I think
Yeah,
it's
and I think
tough,
it's again, it's hard. It's hard.
depends on the community.
Yeah, I think
and
it's
it
the
is-
community and like the
and it's
climate.
time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
all
a
right.
good one. All right,
Thank
where
you.
are we?
All
What
right,
number
where
are we
we
on?
are on 16. So collaboration, cooperation, empathy, understanding, and finally teaching your truth.
Oh, I love that.
So like
too.
really knowing what's important, what's right. Like not always teaching like what's on the paper in front of you.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that is so important. And I feel like, we definitely are required to
Yes.
teach, right? We
Oh,
have our
absolutely,
standards
yeah.
and we have what we have to do, and it's on the paper. But knowing that and understanding too, when you have a student, I don't teach with Johnny, so I'll just say Johnny. When Johnny's having a really bad day, and you're supposed to teach Johnny this today,
Right.
but Johnny's not learning anything
Right.
today because Johnny's struggling.
Right.
Are you going to keep pushing that piece of paper
Yeah.
because you have to, or are you going to
I
take
can
a pause?
check the box and say I did it, but it's
Right.
not helping me. It's not helping Johnny. No.
Right. And I think having that understanding and
Yeah.
that trust, and I think as administration too, having that trust in your teachers
Absolutely.
is so important. And
Yeah.
that's something that I feel like going into hopefully that leadership role down the road that I
Yes.
will be able to take that, because I feel like
You'd be amazing.
that's so important and we need to
That
make sure
that
we
might
have
be
that.
when I come back. Cindy's
For
come
your
back
public
2.0.
health. I love it. Listen, it has been amazing having you on our show.
Aw, thank you so much for having me.
So if somebody wants to reach out for a tutor,
Okay.
How do they find you?
Do
Do you have an email or something that I can maybe put under our
I
under
can give.
this
Yes, I can
episode?
give you my email.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I'll
Perfect.
put Cindy's contact for you in case you want to tutor. She's amazing, and we wish you the best of
Thank you.
luck. And hopefully you'll come back. And hopefully,
Absolutely.
Cindy's husband Tim is an administrator. So
And you
hopefully
can
we'll
ask
get
him why
on.
he left the dog in the car.
Yeah, we will finish that conversation. All right, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.